This is Kirchenbell, a small town brimming with greenery and the sounds of church bells.
Atelier Sophie, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Book, is the 17th game in the series. Budding alchemist Sophie has inherited her grandmother's equipment. She discovers a talking book, Placta, who holds the secrets to her grandmother's research, but unfortunately she has amnesia. Perfect, right? Like the other games in the series, the story is secondary and relies more on character interactions. They're likable for the most part, despite cliches aplenty. It's nothing as exciting as saving the world, but the mystery surrounding Placta's origins is interesting to say the least. Along with this, the voice cast is pretty great, and it's actually in English, which may seem like a strange note to add, but it's becoming increasingly rare for Japanese RPGs, and I, in turn, thank them for it. The core of Atelier relies on alchemy. 3 other characters can accompany Sophie in her quests around the world map, plotted with various dungeons and fields. Explore, collect materials, fight monsters, and repeat. The battle system itself is pretty standard turn-based setup. Aside from selecting attacks or items, there's an offensive and defensive stance to take note of. If the timeline on the left indicates a strong attack from the enemy, it's a good strategy to switch the party into a defensive guard. There's nothing groundbreaking behind the combat, but it's fine for the most part. That said, it definitely feels a lot harder to grind than other RPGs, plus the menu system is a bit cumbersome. For example, party members can be equipped with usable items such as healing salves or bombs within the hub town of Kirchenbell. If the party ventures into the field and loses all charges from that item, well, that's it. It can't be replenished or even switched out for another item in the field. Players have to go all the way back to Kirchenbell in order to equip new items. This in turn makes it harder to continually fight monsters for experience, creating a constant loop of traveling back and forth. It gets smoother as the game progresses, and items become easier to manufacture. On that note, let's actually talk about alchemy. Well, actually, there's not really much to say on it. You combine items and they create new ones. It's a fairly standard mechanic in most RPGs. There's a couple twists to it. In this game, for example, there's like a Tetris grid that unlocks upgrades if you pass through these little icons, but that's basically it. On the plus side to going back to town, new events will unlock as time progresses. Everything Sophie does in the game passes in time, from literally traveling to fighting monsters to picking up items. New formulas and character events will appear, progressing both the inventory and Sophie's alchemic knowledge along with the plot. Even with this in mind, it's hard to keep track of everything. For instance, a certain character may have something new to say, but there's no indication that he or she does. A simple exclamation point or marker would have communicated this perfectly. Instead, players will have to rely on checking everywhere in town as they re-enter Kirchenbell continuously. Between the item slots and unclear objectives, well, it starts to feel like a hassle. One that gets smoother as the game progresses, but it feels like a terrible deterrence for new players. Visually, I love cel-shading in that it genuinely stands the test of time compared to more realistic graphics. That said, as pretty as Atelier Sophie can be, the design in general feels lacking. The characters and monsters are great, but Kirchenbell and the field environments feel sparse. The series has always kind of been a niche budget title, but it's still disheartening to see the series jump on the PS4 so nonchalantly. It's not a gripe everyone will care about, but it's worth mentioning to me at least. Atelier Sophie The Alchemist of the Mysterious Book is a good RPG, but a letdown for Atelier fans. It plays the game safe without any striking changes, which is disappointing for its first entry on the PS4, not to mention it being the 17th in the franchise. The gameplay loop and the story start off slow but become increasingly addictive as the game progresses, followed by another downward spiral. It's a fun, but uneven, lighthearted adventure, all in all. Hey, did you know that you're watching the Reaction Examiner YouTube channel? That's me! You should subscribe! You should also subscribe and read my writing over on Examiner.com, where I write about video games. And hey, while you're at it, check out my Patreon because I want to upgrade my YouTube channel to better and brighter things. And hey, speaking of YouTube channels, check out The Misadventures of Team Sexy Pants, where me and my best gal pal Matilda talk about putting things in the holes. It's a comedy sex podcast for the ages. I have a lot of other links as well, but you should go in the description notes below and you'll find all that cool stuff. For now, I'm just going to sit here a little bit longer while you decide what to click on.